Well, that folks, Nash Taters here. So, from my last video, I noticed that a lot of people did show some interest in terms of talking about the longevity of this game. Today, I thought of another topic that perhaps people might get into discussion. Recently, this game did the Final Fantasy Tactics collaboration, and I think at the same time, the global release of the collaboration was released. The Japanese server did the part 2 of Final Fantasy Tactics collaboration, which brought forth a couple of characters from that game, which personally my favorite is Mustadio. Like, he's my favorite character. I used him so much when I was playing Final Fantasy Tactics. Like, he was my biggest unit. He was the biggest part of the strategy that I was utilizing in trying to farm a lot of stages to get certain things in that game. So I think the topic I want to really talk about today is what collaboration is your dream collaboration? I know some big titles that Square could easily pull out of their back pocket would include Final Fantasy VII, of course. I think everybody loves Cloud. He was actually even in Final Fantasy Tactics. Perhaps some let's see, the Saga games, maybe Secret of Mana. A lot. I mean, there's tons of collaborations out there. I want to know what you think. Maybe put that in the comment. Kind of put what your dream collaboration is. It doesn't even have to be Square, clearly, but I imagine Square has a big part of the final say, right, in the collaboration that they do. I talked about how I travel to Japan at least once a year, and one thing I noticed in Japan, in the Akihabara area, where there's just tons of anime and games and things like that, I see tons of posters for collaborations for all kinds of different animes and different games. I think the Japanese culture is, they're all about helping each other. And I think that's why, like I said, I fully enjoy and embrace this game, because I feel like a lot of people embrace that culture. And for me, I feel like my dream collaboration would be Chrono Trigger. I love Chrono Trigger. I think it was a game that was released in the 90s, and it was so good. Like, it was on SNES or Super Nintendo Entertainment System. I didn't actually own the game. I actually had to borrow a game from a friend, colleague at that time, and I couldn't stop playing it. Like, the combat system was so unique. I think it was one of the first occasions in RPG days, where classic old school RPG days, where you don't have the random battles, right? Like, I think everybody remembers that the random battles even plagued Final Fantasy VII, and it's like you take two steps, it's like it puts you in battle, and you just like couldn't really stand it. I feel like a lot of people couldn't stand it, right? And Chrono Trigger was so good in that you can see the enemies, kind of like how you can see the enemies in this game in Final Fantasy Tactics. Obviously, you have to in this game, but at that game, it was kind of revolutionary. You get to see the enemies, and then if you get close enough, they'll engage you. And even the battle in that game, like, the combat system was so good. You can combo moves, and I feel like they should do that in this game. Like, just have combo moves, right? So, like, if you stand next to each other, you can both activate some skill, and it creates a new skill. And oh man, it puts so much depth and layer into that game, man. I love Chrono Trigger. Like, I don't own it still, but I do play it on emulator once in a while, just for fun. And the soundtrack was so good. The character design, like, I love frogs. Apparently, at that time, you get all these like special effects because of the NES had the FX chip, so you had the big, the little orb thing, or the little barrier that explodes, the ultimate move or whatever. And then you have those giant frogs leaping across the screen. It was just so funny. It was just not funny, but so fun, right? It was so engaging and rewarding. I love that game so much. I think if I was to rate Square games, Final Fantasy Tactics would definitely be my favorite, obviously, and Chrono Trigger would be my second. I'd probably Final Fantasy 3 in the U.S. / Final Fantasy 6 in Japan will probably be my next favorite, because that one soundtrack, I think it was using the flute. I forgot the name of something, like Return to Terror or something. Oh man, I love that. I love that song. That game is just so good. Final Fantasy 3, I think is when they introduced jobs, right? At least in the U.S. And it was very deep. And I remember I used to farm dinosaurs with my ninja. Not my ninja, the guy that can do suplexes, and he actually ran into the dinosaurs, picked them up, and then power bombed them. And I just could. I was so addicted to it. I just kept doing it. And my goal at that time was just get all my characters to level 99. I think I did that eventually, but it was so fun. I mean, gosh, the old days of RPGs, man. Like, you didn't have gotcha systems and things like that, but it is what it is, right? I mean, we can reminisce, we can have nostalgic feels and thinking, whatnot. So, I think realistically speaking, we're definitely probably going to see Final Fantasy Tactics 2 collaboration come to the global. I would assume that would be a thing. I personally don't guarantee anything, right? I'm not in charge. I'm just a speculator like everyone else is. And I think you do have a second chance to get Ramza and Orlando if you haven't done so. For me, I'm trying to finish Ramza, of course, and my goal is to get Agrius and Mustadio. Like Delita, I never really liked this character in Final Fantasy Tactics. I have zero attachment to him. In many ways, this game is pretty much a sort of a carbon copy story-wise of Final Fantasy Tactics, right? You have two brothers. One decided to go, do his thing, and the other one started to do his own thing. It was just like Tactics, right? You had two people, and they decided to split off, and they had to fight each other and all that good stuff. So, personally, I don't think I'm gonna go after Delita, but if I get him, it's because the problem with those collab, the limited time collab, is you only get so much time. It's physically impossible for me to work on Agrias, Delita, and Mustadio at the same time and try to finish Ramza. That is probably somewhere in the vicinity of like 60, 70, 80,000 gems, maybe more. I think like 100,000 gems. So I guess I got to get the saving, right? I mean, I have about 15-ish. That's a lot of gems. Like I said, Agrias, I'll be okay if I get her to like an 89 or something. And Mustadio, I definitely really want him to be 99 because I love that character. I love the design. I love the fact that, like, I used to use him to petrify people from a distance. Like, one of his moves was he would shoot you and he would petrify you. And I was able to use that tactic to kind of defeat a lot of the harder content. Especially like when you were playing random battles and you have to fight the 10 monks and things like that. Oh man, those are some nasty battles. But yeah, I think my dream collaboration would be Chrono Trigger. I think if they were to go outside of the box and outside of their personal IPs, I think I would really enjoy games and characters from certain animes and whatnot that can add to the attraction of this game. Like, I don't want to see Dragon Ball Z characters or Naruto. I don't want to see those stuff. Because for me it doesn't match. It doesn't mesh with this sort of gothic / medieval / Final Fantasy kind of thing, right? I think I would love to see something that's sort of unique. Maybe something that can bring more. Hey, actually, they might even bring Alchemist Code characters if you think about it, right? Because Gummy is part of this. So there are a few characters in that game I really, really enjoy. There's this one character. I know people might get on me in this, but she was actually a gunner. She was a dual gunner, ironically enough. But for me, that was the only character that was considered. What's the word? Premium. That I actually spent the bulk of my gems or currency on. But I did have a small attachment to her because at that time, I wasn't making YouTube videos or anything like that. So, and I kind of just rely on people's tier lists and la 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 la. But for me, that was actually my attachment to that character because I used her so much simply because she was the only character that I actually had that I was able to build to a high level. It has nothing to do, it was just coincidence, of course, that she was a dual gunner. She was more like a sexy girl with two pistols, so to speak. And at that time, I spent a lot of my resources to get her because at that time, she was just a well-designed character. She was pretty powerful, and she did a lot of damage, and I think that's why I went after her. Again, there's this, obviously they had the same elemental system. Actually, I think it was the exact same elemental system as this game. Like I said, because the two games are pretty much sisters, right? So, but yeah, if they bring like, alchemist codes, I wouldn't complain because they will mesh very well into this game. There were some super obnoxious characters in that game I hope I never see. But I think one game that I do actually quite enjoy that might fit well into this game would be Full Alchemist Code. I actually, what is it? Full Alchemist? No, not Full Alchemist Code. It's Full. What is it called? Full Metal Alchemist. Yes, Full Metal Alchemist. Full Metal Alchemist Code, right? Full Metal Alchemist. Yeah, that game. They had a movie, live action movie. They had the anime. If you haven't seen those, check them out. They're pretty good. And then I think they did that when I used to play a different game back in the days, and they feature some of those units, and I really enjoyed the design, the two brothers especially. I think they would fit pretty well because the design of those characters can easily be fit into this game. So anyway, those are some of my personal feelings towards characters or collabs that I feel like would put this game maybe further on the map in terms of people recognizing. Because I think you need to have collaborations to bring in some big title characters and whatnot, so that way people who don't necessarily know the worlds of perhaps Final Fantasy or even the Kamigami or whatever, they could kind of come in and join the tidal wave that is World of Visions for me, anyways. So. Anyways, those are my ideas. Hopefully, I want you guys to put some of your favorite or wishful dream collaborations in the comments below. As always, hit the subscribe button to support me and smash that like button if you do enjoy the video, and then ring that bell for notifications. So until next time, take care of yourself, take care of your family, take care of your loved ones, take care of your pets, take care of your house. It's a crazy times out there. So, Nash Tears out.